Start recording. All right, so welcome. Like Nick said, another Sunday Market Blitz. It is January 23rd. So we're going to cover all of our analysis for the week. I already see a bunch of you guys in the chat posting where you're calling in from. We've got South Asia, Brazil, Canada, Cyprus. Where else we got people from? Peru, Miami, Minnesota, Toronto. So we got people from all over. We got UK. So some people we know it's like Monday. For you, it's Sunday night for Nick and myself. So normally we'll just run through our analysis for the week. We won't necessarily take any trades on Sunday night. Sometimes we do, but for the most part, we're just going to mark it up. So Nick's going to get started. He's going to run through all his pairs, and then I'll hop on after him. So yeah, why don't you get it going?
All right. Yeah, let's do it. So guys, first place we like to stop at the beginning of each week is over here on this DXY chart. And this is essentially showing us the strength of the US dollar. And why is this information important, right? So we analyze this, we don't actually trade it because the dollar makes up for 80% of all trade. And because what we trade, most of the majors, the dollar affects, has an effect on all those pairs. So it's good to see what the dollar is doing. If it's super strong one week, bullish, or if it's going bearish, or if it's consolidating, you'll see that sort of reaction throughout the market. So it's good to be aware of that. So we mark it up like any other chart. We apply the same strategy, same rules. We'll do a top-down analysis and then apply these 4-hour trade scenarios to see where it will go. So first thing I want to do is just grab the overall trend, because the first thing in our strategy is to identify the trend. Then we're going to focus on price action and then look at the risk options. And this is because the highest probability trades are found with the trend. We're not trying to bet against the market. We're not trying to predict it. We're literally trying to follow what the market is doing. And we have certain things that we look for, obviously, which we're going to get to. So right here, we can see that we've been pretty much moving upwards. So strong characteristics of a bullish trend, higher highs, higher lows. You guys can see that here. Right, so this is what a bullish trend would look like: higher highs, higher lows. Generally, that's what we're seeing here. Okay, so with that information, we can now go to the 4-hour, start marking some key zones, and see where price action is. Okay, so here on the 4-hour, more recently, we could see that we hit this high around 96.3, established this zone, and price action was kind of bouncing between these two zones. Right, so this is a range. It means indecision. There is no real trend here on this time frame, but we do have that higher time frame trend in mind, which is bullish. Okay, so with that information, we're basing analyses off the range, either a continuation of the range or a break, either to the upside or downside. And that's what we saw here, break to the downside. So the next step in confirming that would be a lower high, which is what we're getting now. So price action is consolidating at resistance, this 95.8 handle after we just broke it. This is the area where we want to see some consolidation, like we're seeing now, a little bit of a pattern forming, followed by confirmation candles, rejection, confirming this whole bit as a lower high. So this would be a nice retest. It followed what we were expecting, and it's going to continue lower. So if we saw that nice rejection, good setups, maybe some lower highs on the way, that would give us a lot of confidence calling the US dollar bearish, and then we would look lower towards certain support levels. Okay, if the opposite happens, price action breaks to the upside here, we get above 95.8, we see a higher low, and then we continue ranging. So that's the opposite. That'd be the first step in considering this bullish again on this time frame, and then potentially looking for a break of the higher zone. But for now, this is the most likely, the closest trade scenario to happening based on what we've seen so far up to this point. Okay, so that's the analysis for DXY. Looking pretty good. This is a nice structure. You definitely want periods of consolidation. You don't just want volume to run rampant, because that doesn't show you any structure. So this is a good sign right now that we're seeing price action slow down, start to react, form normal structure, and then we can, make better decisions based on that information. All right, so let's move over to our first tradable pair, AU. And we're going to do the same thing that we saw on DXY. We're going to jump up timeframes and assess the overall trend. Okay, so this one's looking opposite, which makes sense because this is AUD USD, so it's inherently sharing some sort of inverse correlation, meaning the dollar goes up, AU goes down, and vice versa. Okay, but that's not enough. That's just a minor correlation, one thing to keep in mind. Based on what we can see, price action is moving lower, right? Characteristics of a downtrend: lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. That's generally what we're seeing here. Okay, let's clear this up. Okay, so that's what we're seeing on the 4-hour. maybe this is, this was a lower high right here. We're looking like we're about to head lower. Let's go to the 4 hour and take a closer look, see if this trend sort of lines up with the overall idea. And it's not. So the 4 hour is looking more bullish right now. This is a key zone that we're at, 0.72, but it's a little too early to make any decisions. So overall, we have a nice strong bullish channel here with 0.72 being our key level. So we know for this channel to continue, we need positive rejection, bullish setups coming off this level. If this level fails to support and we see price action drop lower, which it looks like it is now, we need to see a significant push, then a lower high, and then that's the transition. We're now bearish on the 4 hour. Okay. So that's this level right here, 0.72. Really just got to be patient, see how it reacts. If we are to consider this bullish again, we need to see some bullish setups right now, pushing up off this level, and then some higher lows to then enter, long on. Okay. So yeah, just got to keep an eye on this level. I'm favoring the downside movement. I think this is really going to push a little bit lower, then come back for some sort of retest. But essentially, this is what we're looking at right now. So we're bullish on the 4 hour. Price action dropping lower. We need to see this break, which is this right here, with a lower high below. Okay, so we need to push a little bit lower, pull back, and then drop. It's exactly what we're looking at, the setup that we could be potentially shorting on. All right, so that's where we're at on AU. Let's jump over to AJ. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing, daily time frame. What's the overall trend? This one's a little bit less clear, and I'll explain why. We have a crazy amount of volume. Let's just start over here on the left where this range started. Okay, so we were consolidating. We had a huge range established between 85 and 83.25, our weekly support. Price action broke through that, and then we were bearish then, very clearly. Lower lows, lower highs. Then we started with a little bit of indecision. At this point, started bouncing, and then it finally broke. So we're bullish at this point here, but we failed to get structure in the form of a higher low. We had an attempt here, but didn't follow through. So it came right back down into this range, bounced, and then went bullish again. So this is looking more bullish now, but we really need to see this confirm with a higher low. 81.5 is really the area where we haven't seen bullish structure yet. So that'd be really nice to see going in to this next week. But let's see what the 4 hour says. Right now we're looking bullish. Okay, 4 hour. 4 hours looking more bearish now. We were bullish over here, but then we started getting a transition once this level broke. So this was more or less the level that was holding 4 hour structure. Clearly we're below that now. While we were above it, we still had, hope for bullish movement. We still could have gotten some higher lows at that point, but started pushing lower. So that was the transition point. Clearly bearish here on the 4 hour and a pretty strong channel. Just drag this over. Okay, and a pretty strong channel. It's moving lower. We're at the low now, which is also right at support 81.5, that key level we highlighted from the daily. So from here, it's likely that we're going to push up a little bit and then looking for the next lower high. Honestly, it's too far away from anything for me to even consider long opportunities. I really want to clear this weekly, something like this, before considering long opportunities, because there's so much resistance. There's this minor level here. There's a structure point at 82.5, and then the weekly itself. So there's a lot holding this down, a lot supporting that we're going to keep pushing lower on AJ. But I'd like to see normal structure first. This is a bit overextended. I would like to see 82.4 structure level retested, lower high. Then if the risk reward makes sense, we can enter short on that. But really, this is like a two-stage move if this happens too, because we're also looking for 81.5 to break, which could happen now or after this pullback. And then, of course, the lower high to confirm we are now below 81.5. Okay, so this one's interesting. Definitely super bearish. It needs to prove a lot for us to kind of change that bias. Let's go right to the daily real quick to double check. So if we do get below 81.5, just look what price action's done in the past. Every time we broke this level and confirmed it, we've pretty much dropped straight to 79. So this is going to be in the future for this pair pretty soon if we do see these zones start to break. Okay, so this would just be one target level. Ultimately we'd be looking to get much lower. Okay, so something to keep an eye on here on AJ. Really, we just got this key zone 81.5, looking for reactions, but ultimately this break, because that's going to be the big move. So it's looking pretty good. That's AJ. Let's jump over to UJ, which not a fan of again this week, unfortunately. But let's go to the daily, take a look at what price action's been doing. Okay, overall trend, daily time frame. What is it? Bullish, very clearly. Higher highs, higher lows. Key support right here at this monthly. So we are overall bullish. We could see just from the daily alone that there's been an immense amount of volume, bullish volume, pushing price action higher. But then it flipped and it came right back down. Okay, so there's something interesting going on here. Let's get a closer look. We are overall bullish though on this time frame. I'm sure the 4-hour will tell us something different. Okay, and here we are. Here was that rally that we just highlighted on the daily. Huge rally up to 116.25 area, came right back down. This is where we were looking for higher lows. It made an attempt, but didn't confirm. We really needed a couple more candles there. It fell below this level. This actually should have a label. It's 2.5, 115.25. Okay, so once we fell below this level, price action dropped all the way back into a range below 114, and now it's just throwing a bunch of chop. Like, this is not really great price action whatsoever. It's showing a lot of indecision with bearish candles, bullish, flipping back and forth. So really at this point, I mean, we have two ideas here, but I think that these ideas are going to play out a little bit later, and I'll explain. When you see an immense amount of volume like this, lack of structure, you know, this is obviously bearish, but is it short-term bearishness? Long-term, is this really going to hold? So when you have that type of doubt, or you're just not seeing clear price action, the best thing that you could see is consolidation. So I'm honestly hoping for this to range a little bit before it ultimately chooses a direction. So if it started to range, this bullish scenario becomes super, super clear, right? Higher low above 114 would be perfect at that point. And then we could enter along there pretty safely. And then the opposite's true for this. So if we break the range bearishly, looking for lower highs below, really below 113 as well. But honestly, just begging for some consolidation. This needs to kind of slow down a little bit, then start resuming normal market movement. Okay, but yeah, so UJ again, not that great for this week. Last week was no better, but yeah, we just got to wait on this one. You know, I'm not going to force any trades. There's a lot better options. So sometimes you just got to let these pairs breathe. But that makes sense too, right? I mean, the dollar's kind of been a little wacky, and then the price action and volume is obviously exaggerated here on UJ. So that's what more or less this is representing. Okay, so that's UJ. Let's jump over to EJ. This one's looking pretty good. Let's go to the daily time frame and see where we've been, see where we're going. Okay, so let's just start over here where price action was. We're very bullish, hiking higher, right? Higher highs, higher lows, all the way up until this pretty much 133 area, essentially this huge weekly zone. Price action reversed. You guys could see the resemblance of a head and shoulders in there. And then we were bearish from that point, lower lows, lower highs, until we got to this range. So pretty much around 130 resistance, you know, these three reactions here. Okay, that solidified that zone. And then 129, all these reactions here. Okay, now I want to kind of highlight these breaks for you guys, because I know some people are, you know, maybe a little confused as to how I came to these zones. But if you go to the lower time frame too, they line up a lot better as well. But essentially, these pushes here, extending beyond the zones, they are fake outs. So it's also confirming these levels as supportive resistance, because price action pushed into it, failed to form a higher low or a lower high below. So these are just fake outs. Okay, this is the range here, 130, 129. Okay, so we were indecisive. There was no direction here when price action was doing this. Okay, it went bullish at that point, but notice the volume, right? There's no structure whatsoever. This thing shot to the high, right to the weekly, consolidated a little bit, you know, and I mean no structure because there's not a, you know, there's no fib levels hit or anything. Price action rocketed to the high. Here's 38.2. We got no reaction off that. 61.8, no reaction. It came right back to 100. So there's no structure there. That's not a real trend or anything. That's just a pump, and then it came back down. Okay, so massive move there. Came right back down to this area, dropped below 129. We're expecting it to go lower, but it was also due for a massive pullback because of how overextended this was. Okay, so there's no trade there, just more indecision. Price action finally came back. And on this break here, looking more bullish. Okay, so this was broken structure right there, which is where price action is retesting now. So that makes this level pretty important. Could go bullish. It's too soon to tell because you need that higher low to confirm this bullish. So we really need, to see some confirmation on the lower time frame. But right now it is closer to being bullish than bearish because we need to get below 129. So we're looking to the upside first. So let's go to the 4-hour. See what the 4-hour is telling us. Let's clear the zone off. We know we're at the structure point. Okay, 4-hour was bullish. Here's a huge range here. We're bouncing quite a bit. Nice transition. Once we broke 130, lower low, lower high, nice retest, and then we dropped. So this was actually an analysis highlighted last week. This break and retest played out perfectly. It dropped right to our target, which is where we're at now, right? We're seeing a little consolidation. It is likely that this will just slide past 129 a little bit, pull back for a lower high and drop lower. But, it is also, again, the level that we covered, it's the higher time frame level. We could see price actually kind of shoot off this level as well, just to hit 130, and then we'll look for more reactions. So we gotta see a couple more confirmation before we do anything, but I do like that this is actually consolidating a little bit right here now. So we'll see. Again, 129 is the level, bounce or break, pretty straightforward. Whichever way it goes, there could be good volume. If it keeps sliding, again, lower high below 129, then we're targeting lower. If it does bounce, that'll kind of solidify this daily bullish trend, and then we could be targeting 130, potentially 130, 135. And that's EJ. Let's jump over to gold. This one's looking really, really nice for this week, actually. We are looking bullish here on the daily, right? Higher highs, higher lows. We're kind of moving through this range very nicely. It's still maintaining a lower time frame bullish trend as well. We're breaking through resistance, not showing much reaction off this weekly resistance level, which is nice. Instead, we're just getting pretty consistent bullish volume. So we're looking for that higher low now, just above this weekly. So let's drop down to the 4-hour. Looking bullish here. See what the 4-hour is doing. Okay, there's a little bit of ranging here. You can see that a little better here on the 4-hour. Good volume. Bouncing off here, bouncing off here. Then we got this nice flag formation, and then we broke to the upside. Really great conviction on these two candles. Or these three rather. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Followed by consolidation. Looking like it could be another type of flag pattern. We kind of need a little more data. Let's throw some lines on it just for the sake of visualizing. So, similar, honestly, not enough candles though, but this is the point where we want to see reactions. We want to see bullish candles stepping into the market, confirming this higher low, and then pushing us higher. So let's size up this trade. Actually, this could be really nice. Okay, we know where we're going, targeting our resistance at 1865. Something like this would be perfect. Let's do 65. And then stop loss here. So already 2.5 to 1. Pretty good. Pretty good. So if you're risking 1%, you're getting 2.5% back. Again, if the confirmations are there, this could be a really good trade, especially with the recent bullish volume. Okay, you could double check the daily for the target. Okay, 1865. Price action hit that over here as well on this break. So it's, it's a very realistic target. Okay, so gold, I'll definitely be looking at this one. This one's high on the list. Probably could get a pretty good 2% out of this at least. All right, so let's do GJ. I'm not going to do a full analysis on GJ because this is one of Angelo's pairs, but I am going to cover this trade with you guys. Okay, so similar to the other JPY pairs, I'm hoping you guys see some sort of a pattern when I'm going through these analyses, how there's some correlations in terms of like these ranges after the recent rally on a lot of these pairs. So that's what happened here. Recent rally. Okay, price action got stuck up here. We're ranging quite a bit, and it was due for a pullback. Okay, it was very overextended. We had a lot of volume trapped up here. Let's just throw some labels on this. Where are my labels? Okay, so resistance right here, 157.7. And then support down here at 156. Let me make these bigger. Okay. Right, so clear range there. And with any range, we know when we're near support, we're looking for it to bounce or break. So before we even got to this, let me do a rewind on this. This was the analysis, essentially. I'm going to use the brush tool. It's a little quicker. Okay, so we were consolidating. We saw that there was this lower high forming here. Could have just been an attempt at a double bottom. So we knew that we needed a higher low to really continue the range. Then that'd be up to you to either take that long opportunity or wait for the range to continue to break, to the upside. So this was the option here, or we're looking for a lower high below. Okay, that would mean also a break of the range, and we'd be targeting lower. Okay, so let me clear this up. So that was the analysis going into it. And it did exactly that. Broke lower, consolidated a little bit, confirmed this lower high, and then gave us this engulfing. So I answered on that engulfing right there. And then it decided to give us another lower high, more confirmations, and dropped at that point. Okay, so just very simple zone to zone, classic break and retest of a range. And this just happened to be a huge distance from zone to zone here. And on GJ, that's very common. It's one of the most moving pairs. You'll see the most volume on here. So sometimes it'll offer an opportunity like that. You got a huge volume range, pretty overextended trend on a higher time frame. And that the structure point for the higher time frame, if this does break, is all the way down here at 153.7. So that left us, over 3 to 1. Okay, over 200 pips as well. I actually clipped the trade down here as it was the weekend. It was a little in the afternoon. I was seeing this consolidation right here. So I actually clipped the trade right on this candle, this little blue candle here. Okay, so it's pulling back now. It's still very much in trend. It's not probably going to keep playing out. But I chose to just take risk off the table, start the new week fresh. There's plenty profit. It was almost a 10% trade, actually. If it played out all the way, it would have been a 10% trade. But yeah, played out really well, really clear to see. Great price action. This is where I entered right here. This was that engulfing that we just covered on the 4-hour. So up to this point, let me show you guys. This is what I was looking at the point of execution. Very steep downtrend here. This is really minor support. We're just consolidating more and more. It was clearly broken. Price action pushed up. There's the volume, indecision, and then the volume continued to the downside. So that was my entry. Pretty perfect for my rules anyway. Okay, so we can review a little bit more. We go to the 4-hour. Okay, and there was a lot of indication that this was going to push lower. So there's a lot of things I look for, like lower highs approaching a zone. That's really not what you want to see. You want to see reactions like this. So this was good at first, but it just failed to follow through. This needed to continue with that volume. Instead, it stalled, started throwing wicks, almost a tweezer top there. And then we started getting these engulfings. This volume started coming back, right? And then this consolidation was a great sign. Just needed that last attempt to test broken structure before dropping. And once it got that level, started printing those engulfings, and then we were short on that. Okay, so let's play this forward to now. Again, I don't want to give an analysis on this yet. Angelo's going to cover it. But yeah, there's some other good ideas for this one this week. So that's the GJ trade that I took. This was actually the only trade really I took. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beast trade.
Yeah, it worked out. Sometimes you get these monsters and they're there and you got to take them, and then that's it. Big ass trade. It's nice to see. So quick recap. I covered DXY, AU, AJ, UJ, EJ, and gold. Then I just covered the trade review on GJ, but these are active charts. So we post them in Discord, Telegram. For those of you guys that don't know, that's why we post them on Sunday for you guys too. You could pull these up, play it forward, see which trade path price action is following best. And, maybe that could aid your analysis or help you make decisions for those trades a little bit better. But yeah, so thanks, guys. That's my analysis. Let's pass it off to Angelo.
Nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All good ideas for the week. I think the moral of the story here is just stick to structure, right? That GJ level was definitely a huge level that you played off of. And as you can see,
Right.
it kind of just moved right to the next level from there. Let's see.
Yeah,
Someone
pretty
said,
swiftly.
which pairs do you tend to trade? So all the pairs that we go over on the on this call are the only pairs that we really trade. So it's gold, and basically some forex. Let's see. Marek, great analysis. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Merrick. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead. You see my screen, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, cool.
DXY.
Yeah, so last week I had done some analysis on DXY. We always start on the higher time frame, but we're kind of just going to look here. Basically, last week we we're either looking to maintain below this 95, 500 level or break above here. So as you could see, we ended up breaking above this level. So let's go all the way back to the beginning of last week, which was right around here. So we were just looking for price to float up on the dollar all the way into this level, then looking for some rejection. It broke right above this level. We retested it, had a lot of rejection. So it looks as though we're going to head to the upside, and it's kind of a lot of the same thing. If price, let's just move this. If price ends up making a move back below this 95, 500 level, then we're going to have a very bearish dollar. If price continues to float above this level and starts to make subsequent higher highs and higher lows, the next level we're looking for it to get into is this 96, 300 area. So pretty much once price rejects this level, which it already has, we're going to be targeting this level up here. We're going to be pretty bullish on the dollar. So let's just keep that in mind when I'm about to go through some of the major pairs here, which are all pegged against the dollar. The first one we're going to look at is going to be NZD USD. So let's just hop up to the weekly time frame. Very much like Nick was doing. All I do is look for levels on the weekly first, and then I'll make my way down to lower time frames. So I'll just zoom out, and I've had these levels actually on for several weeks now because we've just been in the same price area. So you can see here we've got support all along this area, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and we have resistance, and then we have support again all in this area. So this is definitely a key level that we've rejected. And then obviously to the downside, we've got very similar. We've got resistance along this area. We have support, we have resistance, resistance, resistance. So I'm looking for price to really react to this 6,700 level. And after we're kind of just looking at the key levels here, I'll zoom in a little bit more and I'll just take a look. How did last week's price action form? And last week was very bearish. So price closed, no wick to the downside. So sellers are definitely in control of this market right now. They're in command of this market. And remember, we were looking at the dollar. If the dollar does continue to move upwards and go bullish, this would be correlated very well with this pair continuing to go to the downside and go bearish. A lot of times after there is a move like this where it just closes, and this was literally like a 200 or it's like a 100 pip or whatever move to the downside. So a lot of times after this happens, there is some sort of pullback. So coming down to the 4-hour, what would be kind of the best move on this pair? 4-hour structure, clearly to the downside, forming lows and lower highs. You can see that with this low, this lower high, this low, this lower high, and then it retested this area. So we're simply just looking for the next lower high in this downtrend, just trying to keep this as simple as possible. This is what structure is showing us, and this would be the next best area for price to retest and continue to move. So I'm not looking to take sells until we get back into this resistance at 67,600. We're still waiting for the reversal. Obviously, we're just kind of at this low, but we are at this support level like we mentioned. So if price does reject this area, it most likely will move all the way up into this zone. And again, I'm looking for swing trades here. We're not trying to buy or sell at the lows because there's so much room for this to move back up. It's about 45 pips away from the actual entry area. So we're going to just wait. We're going to wait on this pair. So New Zealand dollar, again, nothing at the moment, but there is a trade that could line up if price does come up to this area. So let's go next to GU. Let's hop up to the weekly and just do much of the same. So GU on the weekly time frame is very clearly in a downtrend. We've been covering this for weeks now. It broke support at this level, retested as resistance, broke support, retested as resistance, and then we had this huge move to the downside. And at this point, we are forming a very like simple pattern here, right? We have a new low form, we had a pullback. If we were to fib this on the weekly time frame, you could see we're retesting the 61.8 area, and then last week we had a bearish engulfing, right? So this is telling me, you know, we're in a downtrend, we have a pullback, we have a bearish engulfing. This is like the perfect area to start to determine when we should start to get in on sells, as this looks like it's going to continue to push to the downside with this overall trend. So with that being my idea on the weekly time frame, let's go down to the 4-hour time frame and see what this is looking like. So 4-hour time frame last week, and we had gotten in on this buy right here where it just pushed to the upside. Now look how at this point the market has shifted, right? We were in this uptrend, we were forming all this uptrend structure right here. We had this little higher low. So we had this uptrend, then we had this last push, and then we had a break, and now we're having a subsequent break. So if we were to hide this and just simplify this as much as possible, this is the uptrend, making those higher highs and higher lows. And then we've transitioned now into a downtrend, just trying to keep this as simple as possible for you guys in the uptrend. We are looking to take buys all in these areas. And then in a downtrend, like here, and then a downtrend, we're looking to take sells in the opposite. We're looking to take sells right here. And then this could potentially become the next area to sell at, right? This retest, another lower high. This is also what I'm marking up when I actually bring on all the candlesticks and everything. So these are all the best areas to buy, obviously, because the risk reward is way better when you take these trades. These are the areas not to buy at the highs. And then these are the areas to sell at on these lower high points. So right now we're not trying to sell. If we bring on the candlesticks, we're obviously not trying to sell at the level that's currently at. We need some sort of pullback. That way we can get risk reward. So zooming in a little bit, this could be an area to sell from. There needs to be some rejection. And then zooming out, what we can do, we could just use these as targets. We have one target here, the next target here, the next target here, all the way down into this next key level, all the way at the bottom. So this is kind of just how you work through, map out some trade ideas. Again, this is the best area to sell from. If it ends up breaking through this, then, you know, we're going to have to probably wait until it gets all the way up to this high right here until it hits this supply zone. And then that could be a potential area to sell from. But just think in terms of DXY, right? DXY, we're waiting to see what its move is going to be, you know, whether it's going to move to the upside. If this thing continues to have bullish momentum to the upside, then GU is going to continue to drop to the downside. So those correlate pretty closely. So keep that in mind when looking at GU. Next, let's take a look at USD Cad. Let's bump up on this one to the weekly. So this one, I actually redid the analysis for this week. I had put on some new levels. They're pretty much the same as the other levels, but just wanted to clean things up a little bit. So I just zoomed out here on the weekly. We've got our upper level. So this is based on support. We've got support. We've got some resistance. So we're not even close there. We don't got to worry too much about that. We more have to focus on where we currently are. So we have this key level here. We had some rejection to the upside, some rejection to the downside, a lot of like rejection in this area as well. So this is where we're currently at. Look how last week closed. We had this wick to the downside. This didn't exactly engulf or anything, but we definitely had some rejection from this 125 area. And remember, this thing is kind of in a bullish trend, right? We had this huge downtrend here for literally from May or April 2020 to May 2021. So for a whole year, it was in a downtrend. And then all of a sudden, we started to get a lot of buyers to come in. The dollar started to wake up a little bit. So this could become a next higher low point in this new trend to the upside, right? This definitely could be a higher low point. What I'm looking for is definitely more of a shift, because look how far this has obviously moved, about 3% to the downside, 2.5% to the downside. So I would need to see more of a reversal here. And considering we have this key level here as well, this 125.8, 126, I would want to see price make a new high. So we already broke this resistance, but I'd love to see price move above this little key level and then simply make a higher low. And then this will shape up for a decent buy. And again, this lines up pretty much with the dollar being very bullish. So this is another move that really hinges on, what the dollar is doing here. So again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to post up in the chat while we're going through the analysis. I see Darren, UCAD, still my favorite. Yeah, I mean, UCAD for the most part, moves pretty clean. You can see here in this downtrend, it was moving really well, caught some moves on that. And then now it's breaking out of this little squeeze at the bottom here. But there's no trade at the moment, as you guys can see. We're kind of just forecasting an idea. When you don't have the opportunity to trade, right? You don't want to force anything. Like, you could be like, oh, why don't you take a sell here if you think it's going to pull back? But it's really just about trying to take the most high probable trade. And for what I'm looking for, I would need to see this. That's when I would get excited to actually take a trade. Very similar to, we'll go to GJ. We had mapped out, Nick called the GJ trade. I was going over the GJ trade for the last couple of weeks. If you guys go back, look at the Sunday market blitz. We were looking literally for the same thing, because when structure lines up with the level and then you have a pullback, right? I mean, it's not obvious, but it just makes a lot of sense, right? To enter at these points. So it's better to be patient. When you're patient, you're going to see that the market's going to most likely move in your direction. When you're trying to force things, that's when you're sweating out the trades and they're running against you and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the name of the game, is just patience. So GJ for this week, there was a ton of confirmation on that trade that Nick took. If we just zoom out on the weekly, I had this level placed right here. And why did I have that? We had resistance here. We had support here. We had support here. We had resistance here. We had resistance here. And then most previously, we had resistance here. So we came back into this level. And then we started to show signs of slowing up. Like, the buyers were coming in very strong. We hit the level. We had a reversal candle. And then look what the next candle did. We had the pullback. This is where you should have been entering, right on this pullback. And then this is the move to the downside. So we had a little bit of everything. We had a double top. We had resistance. We had a reversal candle on the weekly. That's more than enough confirmation. And then when you go to the 4-hour, you really could have got in on this based on multiple things, but you had this trend where it was forming these higher highs and higher lows to the upside. And then what happened? You had like a convergence of price coming into the level. First area broke support was here. First lower high was here. Then it came back up. Second lower high was here. Then it broke the support, so it made a new low. So it's completely shifted structure after all this happens. And it gave you multiple opportunities to enter. Gave you multiple lower highs to get in that. And then ultimately you entered like even late, like you entered all the way over here, right?
Yeah. It was on that drop there.
So he like literally waited for the last possible opportunity, which just shows, the patience paid off. He could have got in here, could have got in here. He still got in here. Like, even though there already had been multiple opportunities. And this is why some people, when they miss the trades, they're kind of like getting emotional, and, then you remove yourself from getting in on a future trade, which ended up being like the best risk reward trade, right?
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. I got a 155.74. So it's right on.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
engulfing.
155.74. Yeah, so right in this area. And this is a great, you had like double, you had like price come up 3 times, test this area, and engulfings on the 4 hour. You had like lower time frame pattern here, rectangle pattern. So yeah, ton of confirmation here.
Yeah, there was a ton. Here's a good question. What is it? How do you determine which pairs are for you? Like your favorites instead of trying to analyze all pairs. So as a beginner, if you're like just starting to trade, there's definitely pairs that are more advanced you could consider, and there's more pairs that are like beginner. So by beginner, I mean like slower moving, more pattern setups, less fake outs, less, harder to read price action. Those would be like AU, NU, even UCAD most of the time. More advanced stuff would be GJ, high volume, most moving pair, throws a lot of wicks. That's tough to trade. EJ's kind of intermediate, as well as AJ, UJ. What's another advanced pair, super high moving that you would say?
Well, super
GU,
high moving. I mean,
so
yeah,
like GJ.
GJ's definitely one of the craziest pairs. Like I would say for the spectrum of it, it's GJ.
Oh, GA.
Let's see this.
Yeah, GA is an advanced pair as well. ASG. I would agree with that. So I would start off with the more beginner pairs, slower moving pairs, back test those, as Oscar said. That's how you identify. And Darren said that as well. You need to figure out which one applies to your strategy and style the best. So once you get some basic ones down pretty good, you could start bringing on some more intermediate and then advanced pairs. And that's how you kind of learn which ones are best for you. And US 30. That's not even a pair, that's the indice, but indices are advanced as well. Same with gold, Oscar. Yep. Agreed. So what else? Yeah. What's the difference between supply and demand, support and resistance? Yeah. Did we lose you or you got your mic?
No, I'm here.
Okay. All right. So we'll go into some crypto.
So
Can I
someone
repeat
said, I'm just reading the chat. Someone said,
okay.
what's the differences between supply and demand and support and resistance? So support, I'd say they're very much the same. Supply and demand though are normally areas where there's going to be a ton of movement. You can mark so many support and resistance levels, all over the chart. Supply and demand is really just focused on these at the lows and at the highs, right? If we're going to mark some demand zones, this is going to be a demand zone based on this area where price had this pullback. On the other side, this is going to be a supply area right here, right? So the supply and demand, the reason why they're so powerful is because it's exactly at a price point that ultimately made a low or either a high. Again, a support and resistance area, you can mark pretty much anywhere, right? You can mark this as a support and resistance area right here. Again, kind of lines up with the demand zone, but you can mark one here. You can mark one again right here, which lines up with this one. So you can mark support and resistance all over the place. I would say that using supply and demand is definitely more powerful. I'll use support and resistance on pretty much the highest time frames, like you see on the weekly, I'm marking my support and resistance. And then on the lower time frames, I'm really looking for supply and demand zones. That's ideally where I'm trying to enter at. Let's see. Taking a gold trade, how much pip would you give gold normally? What would you say your stop losses are on gold?
About six. I mean, they're about the same, 60 rough. I mean, granted, gold obviously is more pips because it's like times 10, points or points to pips versus any other pair. But yeah, about 60. I mean, I'm not, doing crazy, anything ridiculous on gold. My strategy is exactly the same time frame and everything.
Word. So I'm gonna hop in. GJ pretty much, again, we're looking for this thing to continue to go bearish. I'm gonna look for a retest. And this is an example pretty much of me marking like a demand zone. This is a demand zone. You know, it's already been broken, but it's previous support level. I am not taking a trade on GJ until we get up into this area. This would be the next best area to trade from, in my opinion. So that's my GJ trade. Let's just hop into BTC to kind of wrap this up. BTC and Stellar. So looking at BTC, everyone pretty much wasn't believing that BTC is going to move this low. Everyone thought there was going to be the reversal. We are in a bear market, right? We're pretty much in a bear market at this point. We've had multiple 10% candles closed. We had one there. We had another like 13% candle there. We had another 10% candle. So the market has lost so much value against its, previous high point. So we should definitely be expecting this to continue to go into lower levels here. And as we come down, because this just closed literally a couple hours ago, an hour ago, we just had a weekly closure, a little bit of a wick, but obviously extremely bearish last week. So the 4 hours is just in a downtrend, right? All the way. We're literally just in a downtrend. Next potential area I'd look for a swing trade would be a retest of 39 and then a move to the downside from there. So be careful with BTC. Don't take buys until we get some sort of reversal to the upside. As you can see here, even like at this point, we had a little bit of a candle closure. We had like a 10% candle. That could have been a potential area to like buy from, and then it dipped down again. And then you had this closure, which was like another 10% candle. And then we ultimately had a bull run here. So be careful with this, wait for the reversal. The next level to trade from is going to be like 30, about this 30 level. So that's where I'm expecting price to really get to at this point, considering how bearish it is. And drop in the chat, if any of you guys are getting in on BTC, I know a lot of people are trying to dollar cost average in. What are you guys thinking on BTC? So Marek, do you use fibs as extra confirmation? Yeah, we always are using the fibs. Ideally have those line up with previous supply and demand zones. So always looking 38.2, 61.8. Sir, if you're a scalper, what ideal time frame to look for a trend? So we don't actually do any scalping, but we do have a more intraday strategy. And for that one, we're pretty much doing all of our analysis on the 5-minute. So I would imagine if you're scalping, you're going to want to do analysis on the lowest time frames. Do you guys trade BTC and cryptos on MT4, Binance futures? Personally, I don't like margin trade BTC or any cryptos. If I were to do so, I would do it on MT4 on a broker that offered it. There's definitely a lot of opportunity with it, but I personally don't trade. So BTC waiting for 30 grand. Let's go over to XLM. So Stellar, the reason we've been following this is because there has just been very good movement when it comes to structure on this pair. We have very solid levels. We have this 20-cent mark, we had 28, and then we had 40. Look how it's moved. It double top 40, moved down. We had a 28-cent break and retest. Now we're at 19 cents, 20 cents. This is a huge level here that it has previously acted as support and resistance. So we'll see how it reacts. I imagine there's going to be some sort of pullback on Stellar back to the upside. And there's not much we can do until we get some price movement back up into this 24-cent range when it comes to taking sells. So we're just going to be super patient with this one. So that's pretty much it for the analysis. If you guys have any final questions, post them in the chat. Like Nick said, all these trade ideas are posted inside of Telegram. And at the end of the week, you can go ahead, you can play the analysis, see how things are playing out. Obviously, it's the beginning of the week, so you can't see what's going on, but you can even go back to last week's GJ analysis. This is what we had posted. Obviously, this was a really good trade last week. Some of the trades don't play out as well, but this was definitely a good trade that we put out last week. So make sure you guys keep up with all of that. We've got a question here. Since the markets the last couple of weeks have been bearish, do you think hedge funds are currently taking profits? I mean, there's definitely people taking profits. But I would say at this point, right? I mean, the market, if you're talking about crypto, I mean, it's already depreciated so much in value. So I would say a lot of people are at this point probably holding.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it depends on the market, right? So like crypto, for that example, definitely it's time to buy. Things are on sale. It's how the general, trading public sees it anyway. For some other things, I mean, stocks, I don't know, some people may be in some serious trouble. Stocks are taking a header as well. But they trade all sides of the market. There's a lot of big movements in all markets that you can't always, see or forecast. What do you think will happen in the overall in the next week or two in what crypto, Leo? Margin calls everywhere. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, where there's money lost, there's money made. So those that are losing money, there's, someone else out there raking it in.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people are definitely getting liquidated, which means, they have a position, they had stop losses, they're getting pushed out of their positions, not enough margin left.
Right. There's a lot
Dollar
of
definitely
money.
bullish. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the dollar is bullish. So, few announcements, guys. We are currently doing the sale for the lifetime membership. So we have this. If you're not on the Discord, make sure you're in here. So if you're interested, it's 60% off right now. So it's $3.99 for everything in the lifetime membership. Hit up Hanzino if you have any questions. He's our support rep. So he's in Discord. We have our February competition going live tomorrow, or it's actually tonight. So you'll be able to start registering tonight. So we're gonna be posting all about that. So pretty much how that works is everyone signs up for the competition, and then for the month of February, everyone will trade on the funded trader account. You'll get an account in your email, and then the person who makes the most, there's about 20 winners for the competition. So if you want more information on that, just come in the Discord, click this link, and you guys can see the rules and everything like that. And Nick and myself had a meeting yesterday, and we're kind of going through a lot of the things, prepping for 2022. Some updates come with Forex League. We're thinking of doing some cool things. So definitely some big updates coming here. And, we're getting to the point where the community is definitely pretty large with the Telegram and the Discord and everything like that. And we've got a lot of people making some moves. We've got people getting funded from the Forex League group. We come in here, we're posting some certificates of people. We've got people getting funded pretty much every single day. Someone's passing a funded account now that's in the Forex League lifetime. So it's interesting. My advice to you guys would be try to connect with other people. There's people on this call that are lifetime members. We see them on the call. Try to get in the Discord and just connect with other people, and everyone is here to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great advice, exactly. But yeah, it's only gonna get more consistent. Only more, funded traders are gonna, get certificates every day. So it's growing, guys. 2022 is gonna be an exciting year. A lot of big things to come and look out for. But yeah, also, guys, if you need the Discord, Angela dropped it in chat. You could also find the Discord link in Telegram as a pinned message. And we kind of post it all over the place. So if you do need it, message us, reach out to us, Instagram, Telegram, Discord, whatever. Get a hold of us and we'll help you guys out.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So it's been another Sunday Market Blitz. Best of luck to all you guys this week. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll be back next week for another call.
Perfect, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Peace.
Peace out, everybody.